Hello and welcome back to the Monsters of Monster Hunter Double Cross, where today we are playing with the last of the Fated Four to be fought on this series, Astalos. And we'll be doing a hyper one, mainly because I haven't done it yet, and because it'll last longer. Same reason as we usually do hyper stuff. And I'm using aerial hammer, because while Astalos does have a severable tail, severing its tail doesn't change much. It doesn't even reduce its length. It just cuts off some of the spikes from it. So, yeah, we're using a hammer so that we can bash its face in. Which, honestly, I feel like Astaloses kind of deserve. Especially G-rank ones. G-rank ones are jerks. Found it. Right, aerial, not adept. I don't use adept hammer. I don't know why I thought to try and dodge the boar. That attack right there gets me pretty frequently. Mainly because it's just the way the tail slam itself has just such a large hitbox. It just always manages, like, if I'm not in the beam, I'm where the tail is slamming me. Of course, that really shouldn't be the case when I'm using a hammer, because, as you should well know, hammers don't do that whole tail cutting thing. So this attack right here is him just begging to be flashed. And I am more than happy to oblige. Like, that entire attack's duration, he is flashable. And that's what I was waiting for before going for more jumps. I was waiting for the crest to get charged up. Because Astalos is special in that the parts of its body that are charged with electricity are significantly weaker to physical attacks. And elemental attacks. Just all attacks. So the point is, the weakness exploit applies to the parts that are charged up. So, I wanted to make sure that I could do as much damage as possible following him out. So admittedly, while it is begging for a flash during that attack, you need to be out of range when it starts the attack. So, things about Astalos. I really like its fight theme. It's probably, well, it's actually my third favorite among the deviant fight themes, which is saying something, because I really like Mizutsune and Glavenus' themes, and I'm not a huge fan of Gameth's, but Astalos' is pretty nice. It just doesn't quite match the level of aggression that Astalos has prior to G-Rank. Once you reach G-Rank, it actually fits a lot better. Because, like, the theme is a really aggressive-sounding one. Ow. But prior to G-Rank, Astalos doesn't really press the attack that much. But then you get to G-Rank and things change. And suddenly it fits much better. And there goes the Astalos. Also, prior to G-Rank, Astalos spends usually a lot more time on the ground. because when it charges up its wings, if you then flinch them and discharge them, it'll fall over. But it's harder to get that flinch in G rank, not only because it moves around more, but also because it takes more damage to get the flinch. Visually, definitely pay attention to what the parts look like when they're charged before it dies, because they're not going to be charged after it dies. And honestly, there's some things that kind of bother me about Astalos' design. Like its over-reliance on chitin without much in between. Like, the shells. Like, sure, they've got overlapping stuff, but most of the time, like, a suit of armor has to have stuff in the joints that's more flexible. Otherwise, the person wearing the suit can't move, and also, ow. And while in high def, it's a lot easier to see where there are some scales in between certain more heavily armored parts of Astalos' body, it still feels like there's not enough to justify it being able to move quite as freely as it does. It should be a lot stiffer than it is. And like, from an animation perspective, it definitely looks better when it's not so stiff, but it's just the design team and the animation team, if they are indeed separate teams, which I believe they probably are, they seem to have not really matched up for this monster. But let's not take that. I probably should have gone for insurance. Because I am ludicrously weak to electricity. And hey, guess what Astalos uses? And also, that was a huge waste of a spinning meteor. Ow. The wing didn't even touch me. And I just got lucky to be able to jump off there. What did I vault off of there? Did I just happen to get, like, the one frame there was a wing kind of there? Yeah, like, if you take a look on the Astalos' body, you can see that it's only got regular scales, like, on the sides between its belly and its back, when really there should be a lot more scaling and less plating if it's to move very effectively. Ow. Oh, I get hit by that so often. The fact that the tail stabbing into the ground paralyzes, and then you take the electric pulse afterward, that does, at least in my gear, very high damage, makes that attack really dangerous. I really want to get a wing flinch. That would be nice. Get one of them knockdowns. Seriously? That still happens even if you knock it down? This is a painful quest for me. Yeah, minus 20 Thunder Res is not the greatest amount when facing a Thunder monster. So, more fun facts about Astalos. Sometimes they cannibalize their young, mistaking them for Vespoids. So, yeah, Parent of the Year award right there. Another fun fact about Astalos, while they can be put in shock traps, doing so will fully charge them. Similar to Zinogre, except they don't actually eat it, they just happen to passively absorb the energy while stuck in it. Whereas a Zinogre will just dig in on a shock trap. Ow. Pit traps, on the other hand, do not give Astalos any benefit whatsoever, so they're always a good idea. So, good idea, cat. Don't spit things at me. Thankfully, it travels somehow at a low enough altitude that it can fall straight into a pit trap during that move. Oh, so much for that last hit. Ow! Thanks for the herb horn, cat. That's definitely going to help me after a hit like that. I think I'm going to go make use of the bed. Besides, this base camp is pretty. Permanent rainbows are a thing, I suppose. Need to get some more paint on this guy. Don't you try and stun gun me. Well, at least we got the Vespoid with our golf swing. There's the paint. Ooh, and managed to get the dodge, too. That is better than taking the stun gun burst. This time I do have Spinning Meteor charged up for post-mount. Always feels good to use that. And hey, we managed to get one last hit on the tail. I should have used the mini whetstone. Okay. Probably would have been faster to go the other way to get there, but this way works. Definitely would have been faster if this was Freedom Unite, because climbing there is so much slower. And this climb happened to be one of the ones that was impossible to do on a single stamina bar without having special skills or something. So yeah, it was just a really slow climb. Alright, it's not raging right now, which means now is a good time for, well, not the greatest time for this. I do enjoy how when its wings are charged and it uses those wing attacks, it just sends you flying. Ow. Tried to Superman dive, but apparently didn't manage to turn in time. Okay, let's actually use our first aid med pluses rather than our own mega potions. And then we'll actually get this down. So close to landing in the trap. Hey, we broke a wing and also discharged it. And we pissed it off, so this trap is going to potentially not be as useful as previously expected. Wow. Was I, like, positioned perfectly or something? We managed to get all 3 hits. Don't you face sword me. I'm really good at dodging to exactly where those... Oh. Gee, thanks for the paralysis. Yes, I'm really good at dodging to exactly where those little balls of energy are going to be. It's one of my special skills. Looks like we just discharged the face again, which is A-okay with me. Not quite as nice as it is on the Deviant, but we'll learn more about that next time. Or you can go watch the Dread King video, because you learn just as well there. That wasn't the greatest spinning meteor ever, but it worked. I mean, if you want to be flashed, I'm more than happy to oblige. Ooh, this is going to be a limp. Doing pretty well against this Astalos, except for the whole dying and getting very close to dead multiple times thing. And since we've got a spinning meteor, I think the responsible thing is to let the Astalos get to sleep so that we can use it. Now ought to be good. Yep, that's a sleepy Astalos. And yeah, just for reference, it would lose the spikes on one side. And not even all of them, just some of them, if we were to sever the tail. Admittedly, spinning meteor on a sleeping monster isn't the greatest use of my time, because the first hit is not the strongest. But using it on a sleeping monster is a good way to ensure that most of the hits, well, hit. Nice heal, cat. Ow! Yeah, those wing slams, when they're hyper, hurt bad. At least when they're hyper and you have minus 20 Thunder Res. Not a great combo. Also, it'll almost always do them twice in a row. Much like how many monsters treat their tail spins. Okay. That one wasn't so bad between Defender and it not being hyper. And there we go. This thing does attack when it dies. No idea how much damage it does, but it's a thing that happens. Yeah, like, look at this neck. There's not a single scale to be seen. It's nothing but shell material. So there's no way it would be able to move completely freely. Also, hey, we just got a mantle, or... Is that a mantle? That's status we want. Item pouch. Yeah, that would be a mantle. Because it's got the scale kanji at the end. Yeah. The stuff between the crest is kind of neat, I guess. Face is interesting, though. Like, it feels way too small for compared to the size of the crest. Like, just behind the eyes is where the face ends. That's a really small face. The wings are super cool with how they're translucent. Like, they look especially nice in HD. And just generally, the texture work on Astalos is pretty alright. It's just, I don't agree with all of the modeling decisions and texture decisions because of the whole... Seriously? 2 more mantles? Just the lack of scales, which you wouldn't guess by how many scales we actually got here. Just doesn't make too much sense. Yeah, I guess I got some Astalos mantles to throw around now. And that is going to be it for this episode. Join us next time when we deal with one of the 2 deviants I am most afraid of. Deviant Astalos. See you then, friends.